What Mercedes just did with the W15 is insane. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes is working on major upgrades to the W15 to prepare for the Australian Grand Prix. Mercedes trackside engineering director Andrew Chauvelin has admitted that the team are working hard on an issue they spotted in the first 2 races of the season. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, in particular, showed just how much the W15 struggles in high-speed corners, being outpaced by even the supposed weaker teams. Chauvelin, one of the Mercedes personnel tasked with tackling this challenge, has now shed light on the reasons behind the W15's cornering struggles. Mercedes determined to find a fix. "It's a few things," he said. "One of them was the balance wasn't great. So those very fast corners, the walls aren't particularly far away. So the ones where the driver wants a lot of confidence, and quite often we were snapping to oversteer if they really leant on the tires. And that you can easily imagine how unsettling that is for the drivers. Now that was a factor in qualifying and the race. In qualifying, we were also suffering a bit with the bouncing. Now that was less of a problem in the race. There's more fuel on the car. You're going a bit slower. And that seemed to calm down and wasn't such an issue. And then the big one is we don't really have enough grip there." Despite the comparatively slower nature of the Melbourne circuit in contrast to Jeddah, Chauvelin said that Mercedes remains dedicated to addressing this weakness ahead of the upcoming Australian Grand Prix. He particularly highlighted that Albert Park features a similar configuration of corners to the Jeddah Corniche circuit, underlining the speedy nature in which the team needs to enhance their performance in this area. Johnny Herbert has claimed that Max Verstappen is getting quite close to signing a deal with Mercedes. Verstappen's future at Red Bull has been called into question in recent weeks after giving his full support to motorsport advisor Helmut Marko after reports emerged in Saudi Arabia that he would be suspended by the team. Ferrari reveals Sainz F1 decision for Australian GP. Carlos Sainz is set to make his return to the cockpit at this weekend's Australian Grand Prix after missing the previous round in Saudi Arabia. The Spaniard was behind the wheel in Jeddah during the first 2 practice sessions despite feeling unwell. FIA President investigation verdict delivered. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem has been cleared after an independent investigation found no evidence of interference in 2 separate incidents last year. Recent allegations claimed that Ben Sulayem had attempted to interfere with the results of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix last year to reverse a penalty issued to Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso. Mercedes swoops to sign leading Ferrari technical figures. Mercedes has signed 2 key technical personnel from Ferrari, including former chief designer Simone Resta. Racing News 365 can confirm Resta, who was placed on secondment to Haas as technical director before leaving in January 2024, will join the Brackley-based squad as strategic development director and will work closely with James Allison, who returned to lead the technical department in 2023. Mazepin overturns EU sanctions after Russian invasion. Nikita Mazepin has successfully overturned European Union sanctions levied against him after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. After Vladimir Putin launched the invasion in February 2022, Mazepin and his father Dmitry were hit with sanctions and a travel ban after being adjudged to be close contacts of Putin. Former Mercedes driver picks Hamilton replacement for Wolff. Mercedes team principal Toto. Wolff has been urged to go for youth and select Kimi Antonelli as a replacement for Ferrari-bound Lewis Hamilton for next season. At the start of February, Hamilton's decision to activate an escape clause in his Mercedes contract and jump to longtime F1 rival Ferrari sent shockwaves through the sport. The second story is Lewis Hamilton and George Russell given blunt Toto Wolff order ahead of Australian GP. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell have been ordered to be at their very best for this weekend's Australian Grand Prix to help their Mercedes team dig themselves out of their latest hole. Despite optimism for their W15 car, the start of the new Formula One season has again been underwhelming for the Silver Arrows. Russell has 18 points to show for his efforts in the first 2 races, though teammate Hamilton has managed just 8. And the most recent race in Saudi Arabia highlighted a significant weakness of the car. But team principal Toto Wolff and his lieutenants are, at the moment, at a loss as to why their machine struggles so much in high-speed corners. More on-track running will give the team data which it can use to help identify and fix the problem. And for that to happen, Wolff has warned his drivers that they will have to be at the top of their game. "We've been hard at work since Jeddah building on the learnings from the first two races," the Austrian said. "It's encouraging to see the potential in the W15, but there are also clear areas of improvement. We have looked competitive in low and medium speed corners, but high speed has been a weakness so far. We have been working hard to understand why our performance hasn't reflected our expectations. Improving that is a major focus. We hope to make some initial progress for Melbourne, and that work will guide our development in the weeks ahead. It's great to feel the energy and determination running through the factories as we work to unlock the potential of the car. We left points on the table in both Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. We started off each weekend strongly, running our usual practice programs, but couldn't deliver on that initial promise. With the chasing pack being so close, maximizing the potential of the car each weekend is key. Albert Park gives us another chance to show what we can do." Trackside Engineering Director Andrew Shovlin has already explained how Mercedes plan to use practice in Australia to get on top of their issues. "We will come up with a plan for how we approach free practice in Melbourne. But it's not just based on what we did in Jeddah," he said. "There's a lot of work going on within the aerodynamics department, vehicle dynamics department. We're trying to design some experiments there that will hopefully give us a direction that's good for performance." Walking away from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix amidst questions of correlation issues, F1 journalist Andrew Benson says Mercedes simply don't understand how to make the ground effect aerodynamic car work. After 2 years of struggling to reach the top of the podium, only once winning a Grand Prix, Mercedes were encouraged by the W15's performance in Bahrain, where Lewis Hamilton declared the car to be a race car. But 1 week later, and with bouncing back in the mix, the mood in the Mercedes camp wasn't as buoyed. Finishing down in 9th place, Hamilton said it was like I was in a different category when I was going through the high-speed corners, while Toto Wolff admitted there is something we need to spot, and that's the thing to unlock. What that thing is, though, the team boss didn't say. It has the BBC's Benson declaring Mercedes simply don't understand how to make the ground effect aerodynamic cars work for them. Mercedes left the opening race in Bahrain optimistic that they had a car that finally provided a platform on which they could build and develop under these new rules, he said in an interview. Saudi Arabia suggested something else. Basically, a weakness of the car was exposed. It was dreadfully slow in the high-speed corners, and Mercedes did not understand why. In short, the simulation data said it should be producing a certain amount of downforce, and it was not producing anything like it. Team principal Toto Wolff admitted, "There is something which we don't understand." The third story is former Ferrari technical staff member Simone Resta joins Mercedes. Mercedes has expanded their team by hiring Simone Resta, a former Ferrari designer who just quit his job as technical director at Haas. Resta, who will start his role as Silver Arrow's Strategic Development Director in 2025 at Brackley, is 53 years old and brings a lot of experience to the table. And speaking of Mercedes, Enrico Sampo has been appointed Head of Performance Software Applications. With his extensive experience as the team leader of Ferrari's driver simulator, Sampo brings a wealth of knowledge to a critical area of Formula One car performance, especially on race weekends. Despite Resta and Sampo's commitment to Mercedes, their start date is still up in the air. However, their contracts require them to begin in 2025. The appointments are timed to align with Mercedes' aggressive efforts to strengthen its organizational structure for the future and find ways to improve it. Under the leadership of Chairman Sergio Marchionne, Allison, then the company's technical director, appointed Resta to the position of chief designer at Ferrari in 2014. During his time at Ferrari, Resta was instrumental in developing the designs of the 2017 and 2018 F1 cars, which are generally considered to be the most competitive offerings from Maranello in the previous 10 years. These vehicles were incredibly fast, and Sebastian Vettel led Ferrari early in both seasons and was in first place for long stretches of the championship. But late-season collapses caused by reliability problems and mistakes from the team and Vettel dashed their hopes. The next stop on Resta's career path was Sauber in May of 2018. But in August of 2019, he returned to Ferrari. following his path, he joined the Haas team for the 2021 season, which is a customer team of Ferrari power units and other components. He stayed there until team principal Günther Steiner left the team the winter before. These personnel changes are part of a larger strategy as Mercedes continues to struggle to stay competitive in Formula One due to the new technical regulations that were implemented in the 2022 season, which has been dominated by Red Bull, in preparation for the impending technical regulations set to be implemented in 2026. The hybrid engine, which accounts for approximately half of the total performance, is getting extra attention in these rules, which involve extensive changes to power units. To further shake up Formula One's competitive scene, major changes to aerodynamic rules are also on the cards. Mercedes Formula One boss Toto Wolff has revealed that the team's findings from this weekend's Australian Grand Prix will guide the development of its 2024 car.